along. We are going to be making some cards today, or I'm going to make you one card. And you're welcome to craft along with me if you've got the DIY kit to make this card. If not, there is a link in the description for you to order your kit to make at home, and you can rewatch this video at your leisure. So let me just check I've got all the text stuff set up correctly. If you're watching along live, do say hello in the live chat function, and I can see that on the screen in front of me. I'm just waiting for the time delay to kick in, and probably turn down the volume so we don't get any feedback. Excellent, I can see that now. So if you've got any questions while we're making, do let me know in the comments. But let's get started. I'm just going to move this forward just slightly. I'm going to get my head in the shot when I'm working. So today, I haven't got a very exciting name for this design, so I would love some suggestions for other names for it. I've settled on snowflake penguins, which is a very literal. There are snowflakes and there are penguins, so it's a bit dull. And also every time I write it down, I think I'm sort of saying I'm insulting the penguin, but that's snowflake penguin. It's like a little bit naff. They're certainly not. So we are going to be making this white version of the card today. So you can also follow along this video if you've got the craft version. There's just some slightly different colour tones, but all the techniques are the same. So if you're making that one or the white one. So if you've ordered the DIY kits, it comes in a box to make 4 cards, and there's either the beginner's kit or the advanced kit. So the beginner's kit has all the pieces cut and inked, coloured in, ready for you to assemble. It's a nice, quick, easy card to make. So if you've got the whole set of 4, you can probably do it, all 4 of them, in one sitting. Or if you've got the advanced kit, which is actually what we're going to be making today, then you'll have all the images will be stamped for you to colour in and to cut out. And basically, if you follow along this video, we'll take you through step by step how to make it. In the advanced kit as well, there's also the ink pads. So there's the Danube blue ink pad, which is the darker one. That one's for the craft card, and then the Bahama blue, the brighter blue, is for the white version. So make sure you've got the white ink. So the kits come with these cute little dewdrop ink pads and the sponge. What we're going to be using today though is my giant one. So I've got the larger set because I'm using them a lot. So we'll be using that one today, but it's the same technique. We're just dabbing it on the sponge onto the ink pad, so you're no worse off having the small one. And then the third type of kit is the expert kit. So if you've got the expert kit, this will include the stamps. So this is the range of stamps that they're called Playful Penguins. They're designed by me, and you'll need to stamp the penguins in preparation for this kit. So you need to stamp the 2 penguins on white card, the hat and the scarf on a blue of your choice, and then stamp the snowflakes. So I think there's 5. Don't know, do a quick count. 7. There's 7 snowflakes on there, so you can choose. You can do all 7. It's up to you. I've picked the 2 largest ones and then one other one. Can't quite remember. So yeah, you can stamp those on there. If you want to do it exactly the same way and you've got the full range of blues, I've actually stamped these in the teal zeal memento colour ink pad, but it will look fine if you've got it in a different blue as well. I've just picked that colour because it just brings out the tones in the background paper. So, and then also if you've got the expert kit, you just need to prep these bits as well. So I've got the measurements here for you. So the mount on the back is 2 3/4 inches by 4 3/4 inches, and the snowflake panel is 2.5 by 4.5 inches. So you can prep those, and then it's the largest season's greeting stamp, and if you just cut amount to match the size of your greeting. So if you've got the beginners or the advanced kit, this is all done for you, and everything's the right size. So for today's workshop, you will need some pens, just the black and yellow to do it with the penguins. You need some scissors and some glue. I've got my glue mouse, which dispenses double-sided tape, and then I've got the glossy accents, which is a wet glue as well, which I think we'll need it for add the hat and scarf on, so we'll need that for a little bit later on. And and a wooden spoon, trusty wooden spoon, and I'll show you what we're doing with that later on, if you want to have that handy. So you have this is the white card blank. They comes with white envelopes for the white ones, and then craft envelopes for the craft version. And let's get started. So let's check. So let's move these out the way. So the first job is going to be to colour in our penguins. Move that way so you can still see those. So I'm using the Pro markers, but any black pen and yellow pen will do. You can test it out on the side if you're not sure about the colour. And we're just going to colour in the penguin. So I said before, so I've left these penguins as an outline for 2 reasons. One's because stamps that have got large flat areas of colour, it can be quite tricky to stamp them without getting the ink going patchy and leaving marks, and I generally find I'll be going back through and like colouring in bits to make sure it's all, especially if it's black, to fit it all in. The second reason is that you don't have to colour them in black like this to this sort of cartoony effect. You can use some greys and colour them in, I'd say, a more natural way. Or realistic might not be quite the right way, because obviously it's still very cartoony, but you can have like a baby penguin with little grey fluff instead. So it gives that versatility of the stamps that you can do. And then if you have a look at the stamp set, then you'll see that the 3 smaller penguins I have coloured in, or I have it blocked in on the stamp. That's because it's obviously the smaller area is more accurate when you're stamping, and it's less fiddly to colour those. It's going to be more fiddly to colour those in, but these nice big ones, fine to colour in. So colour in both of them. So you could have the smaller penguin with some grey feathers still showing. It's up to you. I'll colour him in. So these are Pro markers, they're alcohol based pens. I've got some other videos on my channel that explain all the amazing things that you can do with alcohol markers. This isn't really testing their abilities, but they dry to a completely flat finish. So when you used to have felt tip pens and you'd have the lines going back and forth, Pro markers they leave a really professional finish. So they dry completely flat, and you can blend them. You can blend 2 colours together. I'd say keep it to like similar shades from one to the other, and you can go back and add shadow effects. Once it's dried, you can colour above on top, and the colour will stay. So this, I'm just adding in the yellow. So again, if you want to test this out, you can probably test it out on the feet, because we're going to cut those off. we're colouring the beaks yellow, and I know the Pro markers, because it's alcohol based, and the Memento ink pad, which is the black version I used to stamp these, is dye based, and so they don't interact with each other, so you don't get any bleeding or mixing with those. So it's nice to be confident that you can colour in something yellow like that without any mishaps. So right, and we're going to cut these out. So cut out. So like I said, we're going to actually cut for this design. We're going to cut off their toes, which seems a bit cruel. But it's up to you if you want to colour them in and keep them on. That's fine. I just like the way it just completely changes this card. It kind of gives me the like the Weebles Wobble type vibes on these ones. Very, very jolly penguins. So I'm going to got a small pair of sharp scissors, and I'm going to cut around on the outside of the black line, so removing all the white. And if you notice that I'm keeping the scissors still and I'm rotating the card. Round. Okay. There's one done, and then we're going to cut out the smaller one. So if you've not watched my tutorials before, these videos are designed for you to craft along at the same time. So I don't try and rush or like have any kind of here's one I made earlier. I keep it at this relaxed pace. So you've got time to, if you've got the DIY kit at home, you can make each step with me without having to pause and rewind to catch bits. And all these kits, they do also come with full written instructions, so if you prefer to read about the craft without the video running, then you're welcome to use the instructions instead. So for the snowflakes, we're going to bubble cut around them. So by that I mean we're going to cut around, sort of keeping a little bit of the sort of in and out pattern, so it's not a perfect circle. We're just going to go in and out all the way around. There. Don't worry if it's not too messy, because we're gonna ink it, so we're gonna sort of cover up any messy cut bits. So the same for this one as well. It's a nice way to quickly have lots of embellishments to cut out and ready to go. And this one, I think this one will pretty much just be a circle because it's so diddy. If you find it difficult, just cut off any excess card, because the extra card gets in the way. And sort of makes the scissors drag. There we go. And then we're going to cut out the cute little hat and scarf. So if you've got the stamps, these are separate stamps. on here. So you could stamp them on different colours, or you can stamp them onto white and then colour them in and have it stripy or dotty. I've had a lot of fun decorating these hats and scarves. But I'm keeping these blue and the same blue as the background, so it kind of ties the colour in the design all together. So this is called fussy cutting, where we're cutting around the actual image and just taking the time to go around all the details. Alternatively, like I say, bubble cutting like we did in the snowflakes is another way of doing it, and leaving a white border around the edge, or in this case a blue border. But I'm going to be fussy cutting these. And then the scarf. So a nice pair of small sharp scissors just to get into all the little sections. It's nice thick high quality card, so it will withstand some that red. Some manhandling sounds a bit extreme, but you can bend it into the right to get the scissors into the little sections. And then we just got the bit in the middle. So I'm keeping the tassels on, but obviously I'm not cutting into them. I'm just gonna to cut around the outside of them and then cut out that V shape in the middle. There we go, where'd that land? Maybe that way. So we've got so he's going to wear the scarf and the hat. Cute. So next we are going to be adding the ink. So we're going to ink. So we've got a few bits to ink in this set. So we've got the snowflakes and the greeting, the background panel, and we're going to add some ink to these mounts as well. It's optional if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I feel like it just brings it together a bit more. So to do that, so remember in your kits you'll have the little dewdrop ink pads. You'll have whichever colour kit you've got. I'm going to use the large one. So you'll come with a sponge. You'll get a nice brand new white sponge. I, however, have my my selection of sponges, so I'm going to pick one that's in a reasonably good condition. They last a long time, but I use them a lot and over many months and years. So for this, I'm on a glass craft mat here, which is ideal for this, but if you don't have a glass craft mat, you've got a few options. So you can either use some scrap paper for this and just place all these bits on top of the scrap paper, but the downside of that is that scrap paper will absorb the ink. With this glass, that you can be more efficient because you're using less ink without the paper absorbing it. Alternatively, if you've got, I normally have one to hand, but I don't now. If you've got like coaster, anything that's like a glossy finish that you can use instead of this is handy. I used to say a CD case holder, but I don't think anyone's got any of those anymore. So what you need to do, these fit on your finger. They're designed to sit on your finger like that, and you just need to dab it into the ink. You don't have to push too hard, just a light dab, and then dab it onto the glass mat, the scrap paper, or whatever you found to use, and just dab it on here, and you get a feel for how much you've got. It's kind of like your palette. And then what we're going to do is do little circles And we're going to start off the paper and do little circles and drag onto the paper, and it will just bring that blue haze onto the image. So if it starts to run out, you can go back to the ink pad or back to here to go more. What you need to avoid doing is going straight from the ink pad to the paper, because it will leave a darker mark than the rest. So if you can see that, let me just check whether that's catching up. There's quite a delay on the video, but hopefully that's in focus for you. How well you can see the edge from there. So we'll carry on and do all 4 sides. Okay. And then just put that to one. They do dry really quickly. But I'm just going to put that to one side to make sure we don't smudge it. And then we do the greeting. Yeah, I find it's quite nice to start with the white ones of these, because it doesn't take a lot to get that effect. You don't have to use too much ink. And you can always go back and add more, so it's worth starting with a light touch. And then the panel, so this panel, because it's blue, it takes a lot of ink for it to show up, so we can go a bit heavier on this one. And it is only a subtle difference, but it just takes that kind of crispness off it, so it looks like it's sort of designed to be on the card rather than just thrown together. So in the beginner's kit, all of these ones are done for you, so you've got them ready to put together, and we'll cut to the right size. There we go. So after a bit of time, there's sort of bits from the sponge do start to break away, but I find if you just either let them dry and then just blow them off of wherever you're working on, and they don't leave a mark. There we go, it's done. Right, and then the snowflakes again. So we've probably got more ink on this now, so we won't need to refill, and we can get all the way around and make a beautiful snowflake. Oops. Okay, all the way around. Excellent. So that's all the bits we need to ink, and then we have a very important step next, which is to clean the mat, especially if you've used a glass mat of some kind. The scrap paper is not too bad, you can just move it out the way and it will dry, whereas this will stay wet. So we need to actually clean this off. So I've got some wet wipes here, and I'll clean it off. Luckily this is like the last 2 wet wipes in the packet, so these are actually quite dry wet wipes. So you can see all the blue that's come off of there, and we don't want that on the card blank, so just want to make sure it's nice and clean. And then if you've got, actually I have got some tissue behind me, so we're going to just dry it as well to make sure we're not getting water on there. And some kitchen towel. So just dry that. Excellent. So now we are at the stage that the beginner's kit would start. So you've got your mounts in the background, and you've got your greeting and the mount. You've got 3 snowflakes, 2 penguins, and a hat and scarf. So let's start by sticking the hat and snowflake onto the penguin. So for this I'm going to use the Glossy Accents, which is a wet glue. So you might have a craft glue, tacky glue, there's lots of that, or PVA even will be fine for this. This is a very strong glue, and my glue of preference. I'm going to add, it's got a nice little nozzle to control it. However, it's first time using it today, and it does like to get stuck, get blocked here. So if it does get blocked, you can use a needle or a pin to just clear it. And then what I would say, let's just use some of the scrap from here, is when you clear it, it's worth putting on some scrap first, just in case there's any big air bubbles that could make a mess of whatever project you're working on. Add some glue to that, and some glue to the back of the scarf. And what I love about this glue is that it stays wet for quite a while, so you've got a chance to move it around and reposition. However, that means if I put it on now, the glue is so wet that it will ooze out other sides. So I'm just going to give it a few seconds to dry a little bit. Also realised I put glue even as high as the bobble. I put glue up there. That's not going to be stuck to the penguin. So it's only going to fit across his forehead. So I'll tell you what I will do. I'll just put some scrap underneath so I don't get too much glue on my craft mat. So position the hat. You can have it straight on top, wonky, it's up to you. And then add his scarf on as well. Just going to clean up a little bit of glue that's come out using a nail. That's kind of the reason why I have long nails, I think. So there we have. It's all dressed up in his hat and scarf. And we'll let that dry. So while we're waiting for that to dry, let's stick the mount, the background on. So I'm going to glue this panel onto here, so it's all cut to size, so you'll have an even border on each side. I'm going to use the glue mouse, which just dispenses double-sided tape, but you could use Pritt stick or tape for this. It's not a problem. Okay, get an even border all the way around. And then we're going to add that to the card. So you can play around with the layout on this design, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to sort of position it with about a centimetre gap at the top and a very narrow border on each side. So I want to get these two even. And again, I'm going to do it directly with the tape and stick it directly to the card. So in your kit we have got some foam pads as well, so we can raise things up to make them 3D. But if you are sending this card through the post, then you might want to think about not using the foam pads, because the foam pads will potentially push it over the thickness limit, so you might be charged more for postage. So if you want to keep the cost down, you can keep it all flat. And then the season greeting, so I'm going to attach the greeting to the mount using the tape, and again I'm looking for an even border on each side. There we go. And then this one's going to be raised up on foam pads. So these are what the foam pads look like in your kits. So they come on a sheet, so they're double-sided, and they've got backing paper on both sides, and then foam in the middle. So these ones are rectangles, different brands W's of different shapes, some squares, little squares. So that doesn't matter. So what we're going to do is peel off some of these. I think 3 will do it quite nicely on this one. There we go. So I'm going to keep that backing on it for now, because we're just going to have a little play around with the positioning. And then let's have a look at these. So the snowflakes, I think that's too big. So if they're too big, depending on what size shapes you've got, if they're too big, we can cut them smaller. Keep them on the backing sheet to cut them, because it's otherwise they get too your scissors get too sticky. And these, if you've watched my videos before, these are my sticky scissors, so I like to keep a pair separate so that I don't spoil the ones that I use for cutting out the card. So peel it off as a square and then place on the back of that snowflake, and then let's build up the scene, but you can experiment with where things go. And then I've got these slightly smaller ones. All here, and then I'm going to have to cut one even smaller for the little one. Okay, so we just don't want them to be too big to go over the edges, so that's better, but they don't have to completely cover the backs. So play around with the positioning, like them. And then let's get these penguins. Now let's bring in the wooden spoon. So yes, I did say to bring a wooden spoon to this workshop. We're going to use the handle to curve the penguins. So I always say wooden spoon because I know everyone's got one, but if more to hand, it's a thick marker, something you could use, just something thicker than a pencil. So let's start with the little one, and we're just going to gently roll him around the handle to give him that nice curve. So we'll do it gently so we don't get any crease marks. That's fine. And then be a bit more gentle with this one, because obviously depending on what glue you've used and how strong it is, you want to encourage the hat and the scarf to bend as well. And if the glue does pop up, then you can just glue it back down again. I think I've managed it. Beautiful. So now we've got some cute little 3D penguins already on their own. So we want to keep that curve and keep that shape. And to do that, what we're going to do is add some foam pads, but in a thin strip from top to bottom on the back of the penguins. So again, so we need to cut these down to size. Move it that way. One, two, I think we need another one as well. So, start at the bottom. Nothing. So just double check the sizes aren't too big. So I think that one's going to be fine for the little penguin. And then I'll need this one a little bit shorter, just a little bit shorter, for behind the penguin's head. Okay, so I'll hold those up so you can see. So just a thin strip of foam pads And I'm keeping the backing on so we can just have a little play with these. So make sure you're happy. Quite like having it going over the top of the backing bit, and his hand going over the edge of the frame. So once you're happy with the positioning that you've got, you can start, just move things away and start peeling off the backing to stick down. Reluctant to come off today. I've got quite a bit of glue caught on my nail. There we go. I was zooming through this graph, but it might be an odd set of foam pads. There we go. Reluctant, but we got there. So place that in the centre. And then what should we do next is take our penguins. So if you've got short nails and you can't get these off, you can use use a craft knife or pokey tool or pin to just peel off. Lovely. And then peel off the backing of this one. I'm just going to put him just off the corner. And then you can add the snowflake. So if you have got the expert kit and you've got the stamp set, feel free to add more snowflakes to this design. You can decorate it a lot more. And you could even do a whole family of penguins. So if you're giving it to even from your family or to a family, you could recreate their family setup with the penguins, number of children, number of adults. It's quite cute. And one more. Fingers are getting sticky. Okay, make sure everything's pressed down, and I'll just fold this card. So here is your finished card. Beautiful, well done everyone. So that is the snowflake penguin Christmas card. Please do add your better suggestions for names in the comments. I seem to have, I lost my naming abilities for this one. So yes, if you've got the craft version or the white version, they'll be made in a very similar way. And do let me know how you get on. So if you've got any questions, you can add them to the comments below, and I will get back to you. And if there's a link in the description to order the DIY kit to make this card at home. And if I'd love to see what you create. So if you want to reach out to me, you can tag me in your pictures on Instagram. I'm at Stella by Design, or you can post them onto my Facebook page, which again is Adela by Design. Or if you prefer, you can email me your pictures to Della, DELLA, at dellabydesign.co.uk. I'd love to hear from you. So happy crafting all. I wish you a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.